Okay, so let's take a look at prefabs. Now, a prefab is an object that you store in your project that you can clone and create many instances of. So, for example, in this scene that I've got from our previous Beginner 201 lesson, we have a cube which, when we press play, bounces off the floor and hits onto a wall and prints out different messages depending upon what it hits in the console. Now, what if I wanted to have many instances of that, but I didn't want to go to the trouble of creating the cube, adding the script, adding the rigid body, and selecting the physics material all over again? I might want to create that same cube with the same settings many times, or I might want to create it in a different scene. So we can use prefabs in order to store it with all of its settings as it is. You can create a prefab by going to Create Prefab, and what you'll see is this grey cube icon, and you can name that asset whatever you want. So I'm going to call this bouncy box, and then all you need to do is to grab hold of the item from the hierarchy and drop it onto the empty prefab, and you can see it now changes colour to a blue cube. So it's got all exactly the same settings, and what you'll also notice is that in the hierarchy now you've got blue text on the item that's linked to an asset. So that cube is linked directly to this bouncy box. And if I change a setting to the prefab itself, if I undo use gravity and go back to that object, you can see it's done the same thing. I'm just going to put that back. Okay, so now that I've got that asset in there, all I need to do is to drop it into any scene, and it will behave exactly the same as the original. So if I press play, you can see they both bounce in the same way. Okay, so you can kind of extrapolate that to larger things. If you had enemies set up in a game and you wanted to just drop in many copies of the same kind of enemy, you could do that. There's all kinds of different uses for prefabs. They're really useful for storing ready-made things that you've created in the scene and you want to use over again.